So today we're going to get into a really interesting woo target. I'm going to share my screen here so that we can, this is the first time our viewers are getting their feedback. So I guess in the Jordanian Black Desert, there are these geoglyphs that look like these circular formations. And some researchers theorize that they are actually embryos. And so the tasking came from, or the request to do this target came from one of our subscribers. They reached out to Jamie and Phil and said, "Hey, I really want to know what's with these geoglyphs. What do they mean? How did they get there? You know, what's going on?" So the sub-cues were the remote viewers to examine the basalt formation in Jordan and describe accurately the history of its formation. And two, the remote viewer is to go to the creation of the formation patterns and record all data, including a timeline of origin. So here are some screenshots where specialists in a video, which is here at the top if you want to screenshot that. But it's in Spanish, I'll warn you, and there's subtitles, so you gotta go through the subtitles. But basically, they believe that these are embryos, and they look like, one looks like a human and the other one looks like a reptile, which is really interesting. So these are actual pictures of embryos through the cell development. And this is the area in the Jordanian Black Desert where these geoglyphs can be found. I'd actually never heard of these geoglyphs before. Here's our satellite images of the geoglyphs. Now, I know our viewers are like probably wondering, what in the world did I get that has to do with that? And as you watch their sessions unfold, you're going to see some really crazy stuff. And I don't know. Let's just be open-minded here about what has to do with or what this has to do with these. But you're going to see in the analysis a lot of corroborations for this interesting data you're about to see. So,
okay, so I had some ideas of stars for some reason. Then I had this ideogram here, and I felt that the target was deep, had an underground feel to it, had a dark, earthy, dense feel to it, and it was a carved location, which was cave-like. It was natural, stony, mainly in the past, and I felt like it was like in the deep past, and it was in the Middle East area. And this is another view of something else I felt. So I felt like there was this kind of structure there somewhere, a man-made structure, very linear, ornate, old, ancient, very significant, iconic, ritualistic, but definitely something for below ground. And this whole structure felt like it was below something.
so
That was a really good session, Daz, actually.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
thought
I'm
that,
quite pleased
that-
with it. Yeah, yeah.
You and I corroborate on a lot of stuff. If you
Oh,
would
wow.
take your session and my session, give it to Courtney Brown, he'd have to inject more Botox and do a whole video on it.
And as Billy Mays would say, but wait, there's more, because you're going to see even more corroboration here.
It should be interesting
good.
because I'm very interested in this kind of stuff, as you guys know. And I hadn't heard of these before, but all these kind of things in the desert locations, all these symbology, it seems to be made to have been appreciated from the air, and nothing was in the air at the time. So
Yeah.
there's that aspect.
Have any of us seen this before? I've never heard of it. I've never seen it.
No.
I hadn't.
Yeah, it was new to me. Anyway, good session, Daz.
okay, S3, an event over a populated area, maybe over the water. Observers include people on the ground and in the air, potentially a fighter pilot. And here's that what I think is some kind of a vessel. And then there's some kind of like reflection effect over the land. And I just assume that's over water because of the way it looked. So looking inside the structure, very thin shell, very strong, stable, at least two individuals inside, working space. Not seeing any internal details, very clean and new, and it kind of had a tic-tac shape to it. And, in keeping with your theme there, Dick, is like, again, maybe take some of the labeling off of here. Is that not unlike the actual glyphs? I don't know.
Real briefly about my experience. So they give us a target ID, which was MO something 7. I forget what it
MOF7.
MOV F7. Yeah. Okay. So we're expecting it to be anything. So you're sitting down to work this session, and in the back of your mind, you're going like, is this going to be the new technology that lets people walk through walls? will this be the day Congress is dissolved because the US dollar fails, or, you know, any number of really dynamic things. And you sit down and work the session and you get like, this is making the sound of maybe rocks being chipped, or it's just dry desert, you know, land. So here we go. Let me make the case for visual ideogram here really quickly. So that's the target. And that's the first thing I saw, looking at the target for 1 second, like, what is it? And then later on, I'm looking down on rugged barren land with grays and browns.
And
So,
notice you drew a big circle there in the land.
yeah. And then I saw some other form of life, giants, like tall, big shoulders, slim waist, the Mars men, the gods. Did I just find myself uninterested in these formations in land and then go on to that, or was that connected? We'll never
But
know.
wait, there's more.
See what the other guys get.
What Edward and Nyiam got. All right, thank you, Dick. That was great. Yeah, Edward, you had some really cool stuff in yours. Let's see what you got.
Hey, let's take a look. Fascinating. I've never heard of these things. You know what I'm wondering is, how high up do you have to be to see these things? I mean, if you're walking along, is it you don't even notice them? Or,
I don't know.
you know, I'm wondering how, like the satellite images that they're showing, are they like from the stratosphere, or are they zooming down? I'm just wondering
I
how big.
read that they weren't discovered until planes flew over.
So it would
Yeah,
have to be pretty
like
high.
that's like the Nazca lines then.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's take a look and see what might be relevant here. Okay. The notion is of wanting someone or something to be summoned or come back. For what purpose, though? God energy, God force. These were like stage sevens, like the words coming into my mind. Sounds grandiose and rather high reaching, though. But this image here was pretty interesting because there is a slight match with some of these that could be like this here. Meaning, I don't know anything about these, but what if their priest or magician would stand here and this would be a summoning area. Maybe they would stand here and work their magical practices into this mass like this. I don't know. I'm wondering, because I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, no, and that shape showed up in Daz's session, your session. I think Derek's session had it too. So
And
it
if,
does
you know, if like Dick was saying as well, if there's some kind of a Frankenstein breed.
And Edward, you're going to see some things in Nyiam's session that correlate to yours. So
Great.
Nyiam, let's see what you got, man.
A person digging, scraping, like something is uncovered there in the earth. One of my land aspects here was like an underground cave system is what I'm seeing here, like a hollowed out chamber-like. And it felt like it was a protective measure, like a hiding place. And this was probably the most interesting one in terms of the tasking, is because people are saying some of those things look like embryo drawings or something. So I see this weird being. It's intelligent. It acknowledges emotions, but it's somewhat detached. It's like the Borg. And this part of the bottom was interesting, associated to the tasking, because I see something being grown like in a test tube, like a half human, like kind of like Neo in the Matrix when he wakes up in that little tank, submerged in a fluid, something being grown in a test tube.
I'll give you some nightmares right there, that last one. Thank you, Nyiam. So hopefully you guys are already starting to see how a lot of this is tying together. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to show you, side-by-side sketches and descriptions that match up and strongly correlate for this really interesting target.